Welcome back to Learning Partner. In this video, we are going to do a login page, but with the JWT authentication, right? So if you search just directly JWT or token, right? So you can say like JSON Web Token. So JWT token is used when we do the authentication. Let's say we have an API, right? When we login API is there, when we hit that login API with the credential, we get a token after that, right? After all the login API, whatever the data we are going to retrieve, we need to pass that token in the header section, right? So this is the basic implementation for that. So I will just create a project. Project is already created, but login page and everything, I will do the setup. APIs are over here. So in mini project pre api.miniproject.com, you can check the API. So login API is there and get all user is API is there. Okay. So the basic project I have created. Now we have to implement the login page. So before that, we will create some folders. So in app folder, I will create a pages folder. Inside that pages folder, I will create a login component and a layout component. So when we first create a Angular project, right? So app component is our parent component. So after that, I'm creating ng generate login component. I will create one more component I will be needing, that will be layout or home, that will be responsible to show the nav bar, right? So once we do the login, that will be our parent component. So for that, this is the first component I have created. Second component will be layout. This will be responsible to keep our nav bar over there. Then we have to create routes section also. Just let it complete. Now, one more thing, if you go to the Angular properly site now, they have specified like default route, right? So first your actual route should be there. After that, one empty path should be there, which will be, let's say you don't have anything in the routing. I mean, on the URL, you don't have anything. So it will redirect to this component. And lastly, you should have the wildcard route. So this should, because route will have first come first serve basis, right? Whatever the route it matches for the first time, it will execute that, right? So that's why wildcard route should be at the end. Before that, you can add a default route. This is a default route, and then your actual routes, right? So like that we will create. So two components are created. After that, one more extra component I will create, that will be dashboard, just to navigate somewhere after login. So this is not the main focus of our video. Main focus will be how we send the token using interceptor, right? Now, in the route, I will create the route first. So first route path, route name will be login, comma, component I will open is login component only. Just like that. Second will be dashboard. Okay, I will explain the dashboard later. So route is done. Login path is done. After that, I will need empty path, right? If it is empty, I will redirect to login only, and path mask strategy we need to provide, that will be full, right? Then we will have again one empty route will be there. This is just one extra route will be there, because once we do the login now, all the remaining component will be a parent to someone, right? So for that, I'm keeping path as empty, or we have to move this at the end. Let it be at the top. We will check. Path will be empty. Then for this path, component will be layout component, the extra component which we have created. Then for this layout component, we will have children. Means whatever the component you want to render, once user is logged in, that all route should be created as a children of this. Okay. This will be array. And here, just I have one component after login, that is dashboard. So I will create that. Path empty dashboard, and component will be dashboard component only, right? And then last, we can have our wildcard route. So if we don't have anything, we can simply redirect to login page. But in normal application, we will have some component which say like path doesn't exist or something we can say, right? So these are the various routes I have created. Let me just zoom a little bit, right? So first path was login, then we had an empty path, then again empty path is there, but for this empty path we have a component that is layout component, and for this path we will have children. Like what are the component you are going to render once user logged in? All those components should be rendered over here, because for this component our parent component will be layout component, right? So this is the routes you should have when you are implementing a login page, right? First part is done, routing is done. After that, let me just run the application also so that we can see which component is getting loaded. First, NGS. We need a login template. So let's search that login template HTML and CSS. So freefont.com site is there. I will try to use any login page. This is also there. This is also there. This I have used. So yeah, so let's try this. So you get everything over here. So you just have to click on demo and code. So implementing login page is not a big thing, right? So what I need to copy main div, whatever we have inside the body, that I need to copy, paste it in the HTML, right? Then I will need the CSS also. So CSS are mentioned over here. So I will just copy paste everything and put it in the .css file. But if you provide attention over here, we don't have body, right? Because that example was with HTML file. So just extra thing you need to do above this, you need to create one more div, that is parent. Okay. Just a parent div I'm creating, and I will add this, whatever the classes we had for the body, that we will add it to the parent div. So instead of this body, we just need to make it a class. That's it. So let's save all. Let's see if our login page is visible or not. Localhost 4200 by default Angular application. Yes, login page is there, but you cannot see that, right? Because yeah, it is here because in your layout app component, we have this, right? So we need to remove that with router outlet. Let's save, right? If I remove this, so still my login page is coming visible, right? Now, so first part is done. We have created route, implemented login template also, and in app component, we have just added router outlet. So that is the benefit of this. You are getting the login page by default. Some shadow is there. Let me see why. Let's see, some padding or something will be there. Padding is 0. Let's try padding 0. Nothing making difference. Okay, so some margin was there. So let me just add this margin on the body. I'll just write it over here. Style. That's it. Okay, so now our page is full screen only. Next thing, let me close all. Now coming back to API side. So if you visit this particular domain, you will get to see so many APIs. In that user, you have to check. So we have a login API over here, right? If I show you get all user, currently it won't, but let me just create one user, try it out. User I will be creating is Rahul. Let's try cricket player, Sachin, or okay, so username was not provided here, but let it be. I will just add it. or existing user is there. Let's use that. So this is an existing user I have, right? So if this is a login API, for this login API, we need to send an object with two parameters, email ID and the password, right? So if I execute this, in response, I get the token. You can see token I'm getting. Now this token, this is an JWT token. This we have to pass it once, whatever the request we are going to make after the login. So if you see this get all user now, if I try to execute, currently I'm getting 401, means unauthorized, right? Because in Swagger, I have not provided the token. So we need to provide token in the header section, right? So first we will integrate this login API. So I will just copy this object. Now we need to make an API call, but before API call, some imports need to be added, and we are going to design a template form also. So in app module, you need to add forms module, right? This is very basic thing. Then we need the HTTP client module also over here. That will come from common/HTTP. And here it will be HTTP client module, right? And this will go in the import section. So in app module, you need two imports, right? That we have done. Let's close this. Now in login component, first we need to copy the object. This was the object. So let's create that login obj :any equal to object. Let's make it empty, right? So in the login object, we have two fields. After that, constructor we have to create, and inside constructor we have to create object of HTTP client. So HTTP : client, right? So let's create. Now object is there. Now we need to bind this object to our form. So this was a sign up form and this was a login form. So square bracket ng model is equal to double quotes object dot our username. So that is email ID. Copy and paste it over here, and password, right? Since our input elements are inside the form tag, so we need this name attribute. Okay, whenever you do the template form, if your elements are inside the form tag, make sure you should have name attribute also over here, password, right? So that's done. So we have created object and we have binded that object with our form. Then next thing, on button click, we need to call event. So on login, this function we will create now in .ts, right? So here we need to write this .http .post API is going to be there. So post double quotes, then URL. So this is the URL, right? Let me copy. Let's paste it over here. So post API will require two parameters. First is the URL and second is the object. So object is nothing but this .login object, right? Then we need to subscribe the result, whatever we get from the API. Arrow function, that's it. So here you can see in the response, I'm going to get the object. In that object, we have message, result, and data. So result is the property. Let me show you. If I provide something wrong email over here now and try to execute, you will get result as false and you will get the message also. So by observing the result property, you will get to know like API is success or not. So that check you can add it over here. Result. If it is true, we can say alert login success, right? In else, if login is not success, means we have provided the wrong credential, then we have to show the error. Error also we are getting from the API side only. That is under message property, right? If user is successfully logged in, we need to navigate also, right? So to navigate, we need to create router service object, router : router, right? So router service we have created. Then we need to navigate. So once we do the successful login, so this .router .navigate by URL method we have to use, and we have to pass router name wherever we have to redirect. So after login, we are going to navigate to the dashboard. So this route will go over here. And the response in login API, we are going to get the response In response, we are going to get the token. Let me just, if we click on execute, right? In the response in data token, we are going to get the token. That token we need to store in the local storage. So local storage dot set item, right? Set item had two parameter, key and the value. So key will be login token and value will be result dot data dot token. Inside result, we will have object. Inside data, we will have property token, right? Once we have stored the token, then we are navigating to the dashboard. So let's check if this is working fine or not. Let's just add a debugger. So whenever you are writing the code for the first time, always try to add the debugger, check like if everything is working fine or not. So this is our login. Now, chetan@gmail.com, password, admin. Let's try wrong email ID first. We should get the error from the API, right? So now if I click on login, our function will get triggered, right? Now in the login object, you can see whatever the data we have filled in that text box that we have got it over here. Let's continue. Let me just add a debugger on line number 22. Continue. Right. So now in the result, you can see result property we have got false and the message also we have got. So it will go to the else block, and in else block, we have showed the message in the alert box, right? Let's try the correct email ID now. This is the correct email ID. Let's click on login now. Now in the login object, you can see the updated data. Continue. Now in the result, you can see result is true, and in the data also token we have got, right? Alert we have shown. Then we are storing the data. Let me show you the local storage first. Let me just clear. So currently in the local storage, we don't have anything. But once this line run, right? Let's check it now. So you can see in login token, we have got the data, right? And once we do that, continue, you can see dashboard. It is successfully navigated to the dashboard, right? Now, sorry, in the layout, we don't have that. Let's add navbar, bootstrap W3, so that it will look proper. Navbar. Let me just copy this. In layout, you will have a navbar, and below navbar, you will have router outlet, because once you navigate to the layout page, now this will be the router outlet activated, right? Now, since we have used this, we need the bootstrap file also. So for now, just to save the time, I'm copying the CDN link and putting it in the index.html. But you don't have to do like that. You can install and add the link in bootstrap angular.json, right? Now, if you see, yes. So now navbar is there. Navbar is gray only, but we need black. So let's just add this class so that it will look proper. Instead of BG light, we will have dark navbar now. Right? So you can see dashboard component is working now. Right? So in dashboard component, now we will try to make that API call, second API call, that is get all user. This API call we have to make. So I will just copy this. Now in dashboard component, let's login component is done. Again, interceptor is remaining, but first I will show you the error what do we get if we don't pass the token. So in login component, I will create constructor, private HTTP client, right? A function I will create load users this dot HTTP dot get API. For get API, we just need to send one parameter, that is URL dot subscribe colon any arrow function. That's it. And whatever the data we get, we can store that in the variable this dot users res dot data. In data, you will get the array, right? Now this function I will call in the constructor. Just for the timing, I'm calling it over here, but normally we implement ng on it and do call there, right? So let's save and check. Now in the network, we can see the API call, but it is saying 401, right? Means it is not unauthorized. Means we have this API is protected by JWT token. Unless you send the JWT token, you cannot get the API response, right? So now we are successfully logged in. We have got the token also, but see, after that also we are not going to get the data because we are not sending that token in the headers. So if you see the network, this is an API call. So here you can see response header is there, just like the response header, request header is also there. So here, while making the API call, we need to send the token. That is our token is authorization and the bearer and the whatever the token we have stored in the local storage. This we need to send along with the API call. So to do that, Angular has provided interceptor. So in app folder, I will create services folder, and here I will create an interceptor. Now we have to create the interceptor. So we have an Angular CLI command, ng generate PTOR interceptor, and I'm naming it as a custom. Okay, enter. So this will create an interceptor. Let's just wait for some time. So once you create the interceptor, this is the default code you get. Let me just add a debugger over here so that you will understand how does interceptor work. And in interceptor, intercept is the by default method which will be implemented, right? So now in pages, I will add a debugger in the API call. Here I will add the debugger. And here also we have added. Now just observe the sequence of file get executed, right? So first debugger we have got in the dashboard component. Once I continue from here, okay, we have got, sorry, one more thing we have left. After installing the interceptor, you need to import that in the app module. You need to register that in the provider section, right? So normally when we create the service, we don't have to register those, right? But when you create interceptor and auth-guard, so you need to register them. So you need to register them in the provider section, right? So in the provider section, you need to create an object. First property like provide, and in provide you have to pass http_interceptor. Yeah, you can see first import you are getting. Once you click, import will be added over here. Comma, right? Use class. We need to say which class is the interceptor. So our interceptor name is custom interceptor. This class name we have to provide over here. Then we need to pass the import also. Then one more property, that is multi-true, right? These are the syntax when you add interceptor in your app module, right? This is the second thing you need to do after installing interceptor. Now let me save. Now we won't have the error. So now pay attention. First debugger we have got in the your dashboard component before making API call. So from here, we are actually triggering the API call. But if I continue, see, after that, it will came here. Currently, no API call is there, but once I will continue from here, then you can see the API call. See, so you will get, whenever you make all the API call, interceptor sits between your application and the backend application. All the requests you make from your application will go through the interceptor. Once you get the response from the API, that will come to interceptor first, then it will send it back to your service and then component, right? So interceptor will act as a it will monitor all the incoming and outgoing requests. That is just the theoretical definition we have for the interceptor. Now let's try to modify the tokens header, right? So now in interceptor, currently you can see we are getting 401 because we are not sending token. Now in interceptor, whatever the request is there now, let me show you the request also. Let's reload one more time. So now in the request, in the intercept function, we have got a request. So you can see in the request, whatever the API call we have done now, method, URL, right? Whatever we have done, that whole API call you can see in the request. Now we just have to modify this request and say, create a new one. right? By cloning it. So here I will create constant new clone request is equal to, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this request dot clone, right? Round bracket, curly bracket, enter. And here I need to set headers. So you can see all the methods are already there. Colon object. And what I need to pass? Authorization. So authorization is the key. And for that key, I need to provide the value. So that will be bearer. This is the way how we pass the bearer token. You have to consult to your API team, like in which format you need to pass the API. In my, and this is the .NET API I have implemented, so I need to send the bearer token. Now, after bearer, I need to pass the token, but token is in my local storage inside this property. So I will just copy this. While login, we have stored that. So in intercept method, I will read the token. Token is equal to local storage dot get item. And to get item, I need to pass the actual key. And this token, I will pass it over here, right? So let's use template literal binding. Sorry, here also we need to use tilde sign, and here we can pass this. Okay, or if you don't want to use the template literal, you can use just concatenation method also, double quote, and inside that double plus, that will also work. So we have created a clone of the request we have got, and instead of this original request, now we will send the clone request. That's it. So now if we save, currently if you observe, we were not sending the token in the header, right? But now see, first we have read the data from the local storage that we have got into this variable. You can see in token we have got. Then we have make the clone, added the headers. Now if you see this in headers, where do we have that? We don't get to see or what? Let's just see then. Continue. Now in the network tab, you can see request is successful, 200. Now if you see in the request header, see authorization, bearer, and the token, whatever we had in the local storage, that we have sent along with the API call. Let's just remove the token. If I remove the token and again refresh, you won't get the API call response. See again 401, because in this we haven't sent the token, right? So that is how the interceptor works. Let's try to log in again. And this was admin login. Now API login API call is there. Once we get the data, we are storing the local token we have got in the local storage and navigating to dashboard, right? We have come to the dashboard component. On the page load, we have called the API call, right? Continue. Now we have got the token, right? So now in the network, you can see successful API call is there. This is the third API call after login, right? So this is how you implement the JWT authentication with API, right? Let me just revise what things we have done. With empty project, we have created 3 components: login, layout, and the dashboard, right? Then we have created route also. Route is first login, then empty path, and again empty path the for layout component, and all the login component after, once we do the login, after the all the component will be registered over here as a children's, and a wildcard route, right? Then we have created interceptor. So interceptor we have created. Inside that interceptor, we have implemented this code to read the local storage and modify add the headers like this. In the login component, we have stored this token, whatever we got from the API. And in dashboard, we have made the API call. So if we are successfully logged in and we have stored the token into the local storage, then we will get the data. Otherwise, we will get 401, that is unauthorized. So this is how you do the JWT login implementation with Angular, right? So you can use this API for your practice purpose, right? Inside freeapiminiproject.com, you can find login APIs there. Use this credential only. Otherwise, I will just add password field over here. Currently, I haven't updated, but you can create your user also by using this API. And get all user is the API for which you need the API. So you can see if you don't pass the token, you won't get the response, right? So hope these videos are helpful to you. Please do like and subscribe.